Hey folks, in this video, we're going to be learning how to automatically insert an image from a Google Drive folder into an automated slide deck using Google Apps Script. This is a continuation of my series that will teach you how to automate the creation of slide decks. So in our last video, we created a custom function called getImage, and it takes a single argument that will look through a Google Drive folder in order to extract an asset with a particular name. The scope of our project is creating a slide deck that uses data that was scraped from profootballreference.com. So what you're looking at here is the wireframe of our project, where we will be inserting objects into a slide so that we have a stylized and dynamic data table that is populated by values coming from a Google Sheet. In the video, our last video, we learned how to download images that will work with our slide deck and the naming convention that we want to use. So you can see that I've added some additional assets into my folder since the last video, and the names of my assets align with the names in my data set. So what we're going to learn how to do today is to use the names from the data to extract an asset from our folder and then insert that asset into the upper right corner of our slide. In order to follow along with this tutorial, you will need to have some of the custom functions, such as this getImage, deck creator, slide creator, and most importantly, this converter function. If you would like to learn how to create them, you can check out the playlist in the description that has all previous lessons in this series. For the sake of trying to make this accessible, I want to emphasize that the converter function is likely the most important function if this is the first video that you're watching. The reason for that is because the Google Slides graphical user interface, or GUI, structures objects in inches. At least for me, they do. I just want to note I'm in North America, the United States. So if you are in another region, you might have other values in here. And I apologize if my converter function does not align with your needs. Please reach out in the comments or over email and gladly try to help you figure out how to convert this. But effectively, when you're developing or designing your application, you can plot objects and then go to the More section and then go to Format Options, and then you'll get this set of information over here that will tell you the width and height and position of your object. So an image is an object that we are going to want to place in the upper right-hand corner up here. So we're going to want to have these coordinates up here so that what we see here aligns with what we put into AppScript. AppScript does not use these values. AppScript uses pixels. So this converter function will take the values and translate them so that we can reference the GUI so that we know where we're plotting things and then tell AppScript where we want to place them. So if you do not have this converter function, I would recommend pausing the video, adding it to your project directory, and then clicking play once you're ready to resume. We are going to be working in our slide creator function. If you do not have the creator slide function, I'm going to do my best to kind of tell you what we're doing so that you can integrate this tutorial into wherever you're at in your development cycle. So I'm going to be collapsing some of these code blocks, but I'll do my best to explain what they're doing before doing so. So this first variable here called name is what I've called a development variable. This will allow us to create in isolation. So I am hard coding one of the team names in here and declaring it to the variable called name. Eventually, that name variable will be in the input section of the function. That way we can dynamically use this function regardless of the value that is being passed to the function. There's just some logging here so that we know what's going on. So I'm going to collapse that. This deck ID is leveraging the creator deck function. All that's happening in creator deck is slidesapp.create, and then we are creating a new slide deck. And then we're getting that deck ID as the return statement so that we can append values to our or append slides to the deck. So again, if you do not have a creator deck function, all you need to do is create slidesapp.create and then pass in the name of the deck that you want to create. We are using, as you can see here, our deck. We're then declaring a deck ID based upon that creator deck function so that we have the ID, which is the return statement here. So if you're using slidesapp.create, then you're going to want to use get ID so that you can then pass it into slidesapp.openById. I'm going to collapse this code block because we don't need it, and collapse this one because we don't need it. Then we are just using deck.append slide in order to create the slide variable. And then we're using this slide variable throughout the script. So we're using slide.insertShape in order to create a text box. We're using slide.insertShape to create a text box. This is for collecting data from the sheet. These are some iteration points used for plotting the data table, the dynamic data table. That's a little bit more complex. So if you want to know about this, feel free to check out the other videos. And then you can see I'm using slide.insertShape to insert a text box. So if you have a deck ID and a slide, the ability to append a slide, then you're basically all caught up on the foundation of this tutorial. If you've been following along with the series, we're going to go down to our line code block. We're going to go to the right of our last line of code, which is inserting a line using that slide variable again. We're going to hit enter twice. We're going to hit the left arrow 4 times. We're going to add 2 slashes for a comment, and then we're going to use all caps for an image. And then we're going to collapse that line code block because we don't need it. And we're going to hit enter and begin the next phase of our project. So we're going to hit tab, we're going to add 2 slashes, and we are going to say insert the image from Google Drive into the right-hand corner of the slide. Hit enter, hit tab. We're going to declare a variable called image, capital D, drive. And we're going to set that equal to get image with an open parentheses, and then we're going to pass that name in here. So this get image function is what we built last time, which is the function that we started this video with. So basically we're using the name in order to evaluate if an asset exists in a Google Drive folder, and then we're going to extract the ID of that asset so that we can insert it into our slide. So this image drive variable is extracting an image as long as one exists. We're going to hit enter twice, left arrow twice, and we're going to add 2 slashes for a comment. And we are going to say error management to place the image. So we're going to hit enter, we're going to hit tab, and we're going to use a try catch block. So you're going to type try, and then you're going to open up curly brackets, and then we're going to go to the right, and we're going to hit enter, and then we're going to type in catch, and then we're going to add curly brackets. We're going to hit the up arrow, then the left arrow to make sure that we are in between the curly brackets associated with the try portion of the try catch. So it should say try, opening curly bracket, and then your cursor should be before a closing curly bracket. We're going to hit enter. Basically what try catch does is if there's an error, it will allow your code to continue. So in the event that you do not have an image in your assets folder, you will not have an error that ends your program. It will continue without extracting the image and without trying to place the image. So we're going to add 2 slashes for a comment, and we are going to use the image drive variable to insert the image. So we're going to hit enter, we're going to hit tab, and we're going to declare a variable called image. We're going to hit space, and we're going to hit equal sign, we're going to hit space, and then we're going to use that slide variable again, and we're going to use dot, and then we're going to say insert image. So you'll see insert is in all lowercase, capital I for image. This is case sensitive, so make sure that you have dot insert image with a capital I for image. We're going to open up a parentheses, and then we're going to pass that image drive variable that we just created that is using our getImage function. We're going to go to the right of the parentheses. We're going to hit enter. We're going to hit left arrow twice. We're going to use 2 slashes. We're going to hit space, and then we are going to set the placement of the image. So we're going to hit enter. We're going to hit tab. We're going to reference the image variable that we just created, and we're going to use a dot. We're going to say set capital L left, and then we are going to use our converter function in order to place the variable or the values that we want to use in order to get this in the position that we want to. So we're going to use converter, open parentheses, and then I'm just going to use some hard-coded values for now. So I'm going to use 7.67. I'm going to go to the right, and I'm going to add a comma. Where am I going to add that comma? Oh, I apologize. No, I'm not going to do that. So after you insert 7.67, you're going to go to the right again. And after you're outside of the parentheses, you're going to hit dot set top, and then you're going to use a parentheses, and then we're going to use that converter function again. And then we are going to pass in the value 0.05. We're going to go to the right once, right twice, and we're going to use a dot. And then we are going to say set capital W width, open parentheses, and then we're going to use that converter function once again. We're going to have an open parentheses, and we're going to pass in 2.33. We're going to go to the right once, right twice, and do dot set capital H height. We're going to open up parentheses. We're going to use our converter function one last time, and we are going to enter in 0.79. And I think we should be good to go now. So basically what happened here is, and I'm going to clean this up a little bit. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. But in between image and the dot, I'm going to hit enter. You can see that we're setting the left parameter. I'm going to go between these 2 parentheses here and the dot before set top, and I'm going to hit enter. Then we're setting the top. We're going to go to the right of the 2 parentheses right before dot set width, and we're going to hit enter. And then we're going to go between the 2 parentheses and the dot set height, and we're going to hit enter. So basically in the past where we have just kind of, like for example, I'm going to open up this code block here. So if there is anything on screen that you're still referencing or you want to know, pause the video now. Otherwise, I'm going to click this open a little bit. You can see that when we do insert shape, we're inserting 1 value, 2 value, 3 value, 4. Same way that when we're using left, top, width, and height, there's 4 values here. Basically, that's what's happening here. We're setting the left, the top, the width, and the height. So we just kind of called it out more explicitly here. So basically, when you're setting an object in Google Slides, it's the left and top are relative to the top left corner of the slide, and the width and height are the size of the element that you're creating. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to hit run just to make sure that this works. So you can see our slide is being created, our deck is being created. If you see this, in the old deck was deleted, the deck has been moved to the parent folder. You can see we're pulling in a bunch of data about the Philadelphia Eagles. You can see this is my image for the slide, Philadelphia Eagles. We go back, and here you can see that this is in the trash. That's great. That's exactly what we wanted. We're going to go back to our project directory, and I'm going to open up that decks folder. You can see we have a brand new slide deck in here. And check it out. We now have that Eagles logo in the upper right-hand corner. So I'm just going to click it open to check out the like what it looks like. And you can see that its position is exactly what we entered in for our height and width and X and Y coordinates. So this is the set left, this is the set top, this is the width, and this is the height. And now we have this wonderful looking slide that is focused on the Eagles, has Eagles data, has an image, looks great. So what we're going to do now is we are going to adjust our creator slide so that it is no longer only focused on the Philadelphia Eagles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out my development variables. I'm going to pass that name variable into the function's input. That way we can use this creator slide in order to create multiple slides in the same deck. So what we're also going to do is we don't want to create a new slide every single time. So we are going to also remove our deck ID variable in here. So we're going to open up some of these code blocks. So you can see we already have the deck ID in here. So we don't want to create a deck every time we create a new slide. So we are going to comment out that deck ID. We're going to go up to our function input. We're going to use a comma. And then we're just going to declare our deck ID as an input for our creator slide. So I know that moved a little bit abruptly and quickly, but just to clarify, we had hard-coded name and deck ID variables into our creator slide function for the purposes of just seeing if our creator slide worked correctly. We are removing those hard-coded variables, the deck ID and name, and moving them into our input portion of the function. So you can see that we are using open by ID and then we're referencing the deck ID. So instead of that deck ID being a hard-coded value or variable in our function, we are now going to pass that ID into the function at the onset. That way we can dynamically use a deck ID. And if we wanted to, we could have more than one deck. We're not going to do that. But for our purposes here, we will no longer be held to one slide per deck. We could pass dynamic deck IDs and dynamic names and all that type of stuff in here. Additionally, we're using that name variable throughout the function. So our purposes of hard coding it was merely so that we could test our scripting to make sure that our application worked as expected. So now that we have created a dynamic function, we can no longer hit run because these variables are not being declared. They need an input now in order to run correctly. So we're going to go back to our code or our executable file where we have our function that is where we've been testing out this function. So we've already created this function in here that will give us an array with the team names. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit enter twice. We're going to hit the left arrow twice. We're going to add 2 slashes and we're going to hit a space and we are going to create the deck. So we're going to use this executable file in order to create our deck. So we're going to declare a variable called deck and we're going to set that equal to creator deck with an open parentheses. Now remember, every time that we create a deck, it is going to return the deck ID. That is what the result of that deck or that creator deck function is, which means when we save it to a variable called deck, we can use the variable deck in order to pass it into our creator slide function. So what I'm going to do now is remove all this logging in here because we don't need it anymore. So just so that you know, when we do for I in team, we're referencing names, our names function, which is going to extract the unique names that exist in the team portion of our data set. So what we're going to do now is we are going to use 2 slashes in our for loop, and we are going to say create the slides by passing the unique names. So we're going to hit enter, we're going to hit tab, and we're going to use that creator slide function. We're going to open up parentheses, and we have 2 arguments. The first argument is the name. So what we're going to reference is team square bracket I. We're going to go to the right, we're going to add a comma, we're going to hit space, and then we're going to pass in deck. We're going to go to the right, we're going to add a semicolon. We're going to hit save, and what we're going to hope to see now is that when we run our function, we will have some logging feedback that will tell us that our deck is created and that we're creating new slides and that we're moving through all of the teams and creating slides for each team. So you can see we've created the Dallas Cowboys slide, now we've created the Giants slide, and now we should be creating the Commanders slide. And what we'll hopefully have is slides with images on them. So we're going to go back to our Drive folder. Let's see. Cool. So you can see we have this new timestamp over here, which is good indication that we have a new slide. We are going to double click. Cool. So you can see we have our Eagles slide here with the Eagles image. We have our Cowboys slide. We have our Giants slide. We have our Commander slide. And each of them have their image in the upper right-hand corner, and everything looks great. So I hope you found this helpful. I know it's a little bit complicated because this is an extended series with multiple videos, and if you're watching this for the first time, it might have been difficult to follow along with some of the functions that you needed in order to complete this lesson. But I hope you found this helpful, and if you are having any issues, please reach out in the comments section, and I'll do my best to help you as best as I can. Like I said, if you want to catch up on anything or follow along with any future videos, there's a playlist linked in the description. Yeah, so I hope this was interesting and you get to do a bunch of cool projects with it. Hopefully you'll check out the next one.